Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a brand new gardener, and this is my garden, and it's a hard mulch life.
It's a hard mulch life for me. It's a hard mulch life for you. Planting, gardening, best we can do.
So today I want to talk about something that I did wrong from the very beginning. As somebody who started gardening 3 months ago, so March of 2026, and we're just now going into June 1st on Monday, I made a lot of mistakes with raised beds. I got two of them pretty inexpensively and decided I was just going to fill them full of stuff and put some dirt in it and plant some plants, which was fine. But I didn't realize all the things that I really needed to do to the bed first. I did do one thing right. I put cardboard down because cardboard's a great weed killer, but it also helps with moisture and lets moisture pass into the ground so that I didn't have any root rot or anything like that. So that was good. I did one thing right. But there was a lot of things that I did wrong. And I'm hoping in this video that I can help some of you who are trying to do a garden or maybe thinking about doing a garden for the first time so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. So raised beds have become very popular because a lot of people live in urban developments, they live in apartments, they live in areas where they don't have very much room. So these raised beds allow you to make some gardening areas in your limited space, like on a balcony, a section of your apartment. You can put an entire thing up against the wall. Although you have to make sure you get enough light, but grow lights can help with that. So raised beds are really fantastic, but there are some things you have to be careful of. Okay, this is the bed that I just planted. This is the brand new one. This is the exact same bed as this one over here, just silver. Okay? So here we've got a guy who's not taking being planted very well. He's kind of laying down, but hopefully he'll perk up soon. We've got some corn, a couple of auras here. I got to fill that one up. Tomatoes on this side, and then we've got some squash on this side. Now, we could do the cram method where we could squeeze more things in there, but I think for now we're going to leave this as it is. So take a good look at the bed, right? All right, now let's take a look at this one. Might be harder to see because everything has been grown. That's a lot of food in there. Yeah? See anything? All right, well, let me show it to you. Maybe you can see it in this one a little bit better. Probably can see it now. So here, look. It's about 4 inches from the top, depending on where we're at. The reason I did that, originally, these are my two original beds. And I did it that way because I wanted to try to save some money on soil. Now, when I first did these, everybody told me to use the Miracle-Gro potting soil or the raised bed soil, whatever it was, and that's fine. Those soils do great. But I started to get away from that fairly quickly because I wanted to go more for organic stuff. Now, it was expensive, so what I ended up doing with this one was filling the entire bed with soil. Now, this is one that I've got laid out. It's got to be planted yet. But you can see how I've kind of laid out, figured out where my auras are going to go. These are my watering things. And where each plant is going to go, which is something I did not have the opportunity to do on these beds. I had to kind of stick them in after the fact, which is why they look a little bit weird. So I wanted to fill as much soil in here as possible because I wanted that full 12 inches to be able to utilize all that space for the rooting, especially for things like carrots and tomatoes that root deep, right? So that is the first thing that I did wrong, was putting too little soil in. Now, the second thing that I did wrong was not knowing enough about companion planting. I did know enough to search Google and a few other books that I had recently gotten to say, okay, can these two things exist together? So I think I did okay with those. But at the same time, I should have known more about what they do, because things like marigolds, things like basil and cilantro, those kind of things really work well with, tomatoes and the leafy vegetables like cabbage and lettuce and those kind of things. And they do really well together. Not only that, but the marigolds help because they get pollinating insects over and they say, okay, we know you want to pollinate. Well, here we are. But don't forget before you leave, pollinate this cabbage or this lettuce, or maybe hit up this tomato because they're our friends too. And that's what those guys do. So it's very important to do those pollinating things, zinnias, marigolds, those kind of things. They really do well with helping your vegetable garden grow. Now, another thing I did wrong with my raised beds is I did not put a net over them at the very beginning. When they were still seeds, before they were growing, I should have put a net over them. You've seen many times that I've had nets over my beds now, but I didn't then. And before we had the fence, my dogs were allowed to roam around. So my one dog, who was obsessed with seeds because of the birds, dug its face into my bed. And I did not even think the second bed was even going to grow, but it did. So that was a very lucky straw. But I should have put a net over them to prevent animals, rabbits, gophers, rats, all kinds of things from getting into my bed. Now, another thing is about how far apart to plant everything. What I've discovered from watching a lot of channels and reading a lot of books is most of the recommendations on the back of the packages refer to industrial farming. So when they're telling you to plant tomatoes 2 feet apart or 1 foot apart, whatever it is, or beans or whatever it's telling you to do, you don't really need to plant them that far apart. Matter of fact, you can cram them a little closer together and they'll help support each other. Like your tomatoes will help shade the cabbages, which are not cabbages, excuse me, the carrots, which like to be a little bit lower, those kind of things. If you research it enough, you will find enough evidence to show you that you, as a small gardener, as a home gardener, can put things closer together because you have that option. Now, people who are driving equipment or tractors or those kind of things, they need to have the extra space. That is why those spacings exist the way they do. So be wary of them. You can fit a lot more into your garden beds than you think you really can. Now, something else that I did that I didn't do before is originally I just took the garden soil right out of Walmart or whatever big box store I was going from, and I dumped it into my beds. And I didn't do much beyond that. Well, this time, for these beds, what I decided to do was to mix my own. So I had a little bit of the regular soil that I would use. I had a little bit of like the raised bed soil that's specific, that has the worm castings in it, which is the worm poop and the stuff that's supposed to help with fertilization. I had a little bit of black cow. I threw a little bit of a home mixture that I had, which was a little bit of the manure, the manure tea that I had made. So, love those lovely bugs. I put a lot of that in there along with some peat moss, and I didn't use vermiculite, but I did use perlite, and I did not use peat moss. I used perlite. But I mixed them together in my wheelbarrow, and then I used that to fill that last layer of my bed up so that I had what I wanted to be on the top. Now, I originally wanted to use coco coir because I'd seen plenty of channels who raved about coco coir, and I wanted to try it, but I wasn't able to get any locally where I'm at in North Carolina. But I'm sure you can find it if you're really looking for it. I mean, they did have some at Lowe's, but it was really pricey, and it was a lot more than, say, it was at Amazon. But I didn't have the opportunity to wait an entire day or two from Amazon delivery, so I chose to work with what I had. Something else I would point out is when you're growing from a grow station and you're putting into pots, put it into pots like this that are biodegradable, so you don't have to take them out of the pots to put them into the soil. You can just dig your hole and stick them right there. And that'll be so much better than trying to distress the plant a couple of times. So that's what I would do. I've really enjoyed that because I think and these pots degrade very quickly. A little bit of water and they're just gone. So what we're going to do now is plant all these things down, including the auras that we're going to be using for water, and get everything in place. Okay, that is everybody in place. Now all I have to do is bury the auras and fill them with water. And then the bed is good to go. We will be putting the nets over both beds before we go tonight. Okay guys, I'm signing off for the day. Looks like some pretty nasty clouds are rolling in. So from my garden to yours, happy gardening. You guys have a great day.